Handoff Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores, we roar, ignite the stands.
Hello there, Minnesota Vikings fans. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by Adam Carlson and Kyle Smith, as always. How are you guys?
I am doing great.
I'm doing lovely.
Awesome.
Well, I would like to welcome everyone to episode number 109 of the Purple People podcast. We've decided to title this one Kluweless, after, the movie Kluweless.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good movie. If you haven't seen it and you like Valley Girl stuff, it's worth checking out. Mm-hmm. It's amusing.
Oh, what a great reference.
So let's go right into the quick hits. I mean, the main topics are fun to talk about on the show, but the quick hits are even more fun to me.
Quick hits are fun.
Mr. Kyle Smith had to actually send me a personal message to ask me if my information about the Ponder baby was correct. But Samantha and Christian Ponder have a little baby girl. They decided to name her Bowden St. Clair, after Christian Ponder's old football coach at FSU, Bobby Bowden. So that's a interesting name for a girl.
Sorry, everybody. Sam did a great job of covering that up. So did Christian. Christian doesn't use social media a lot, but Sam was usually on a point on Twitter. So kudos to you, because she was like the hide-and-seek champion of letting everyone know that.
Oh, yeah.
Can we confirm whether or not the baby was intercepted on the way out?
I'm sure the doctor picked it off, but I don't know.
We haven't been on for 2 minutes, and I love you. Thank you for that.
Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Harris polls, but they're generally done to figure out how popular something is or how marketable something is. Well, they did a Harris poll to figure out what the most popular sport in America is. They've been doing it for about 100 years now. Well, for the 30th year straight, the NFL has been named the most popular sport in America.
As it should be.
Well, it took over for baseball 30 years ago, which is America's pastime. A lot of people like baseball. And NASCAR also has a humongous following, despite the fact that I can't personally stand it.
Get her done. I can't either.
So that's that.
I thought maybe soccer was going to beat it out, right?
Not in America.
Nope.
Worldwide, you're going to see soccer way up there, or maybe we'll just say football wins again and we won't spell it. All right, so the 2015 NFL Draft is going to be moving away from New York City. This is good news because I like to see it moving around, helping out different parts of the economy, getting some different faces in the crowd, because there always seems to be like hundreds of Jets fans there cheering for the stupidest picks. But this year it's going to be held in either Chicago or LA. And I'm excited to see either of those two cities get a chance to host.
I hope it goes to Chicago.
I have a Chicago story. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I hope it goes to Chicago. That's the closest to me that it will probably ever come. So, yeah, if it goes to Chicago, I would go see that. That'd be a lot of fun.
I think it'd be kind of cool to experience an NFL draft live.
That's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I hate to do a derogative thing for Chicago. I did a mission there for Mr. Obama in 2012. There was a lot of high-name people there. And it was me and my first military working dog. I just want to say for you Chicago fans, if there are any that listen, that my old working dog, Bodza, took a crap on the north end zone. So if you see a little patch of grass there that is greener than anymore, that's his spot. But yes, I agree. It's just like the Super Bowl. You're going to bring revenue to that town. It's going to throw them into a frenzy, especially if it's in a smaller area, even though it's a big town. But I'll go with LA first because it's more glam. There's going to be Hollywood movie stars that might show up. But you're right, man. There are a lot of not so good teams, fans there, and usually cheering for, I can't figure out a reason. But hey, to each their own.
Well, it's been held in New York City for the last 49 years. 50 years ago, do you know what city it was held in?
Detroit? I have no idea.
Chicago.
Was it really?
Oh, touche.
So it'll be interesting.
Nice little trivia point there.
I'm always full of useless junk. That's my thing. Well, there's some useful junk coming into TCF Stadium because there's going to be new seating added on to prepare for the Vikings. Construction has begun on that so that they can fit more Vikings fans' butts in those seats, and they better do it and be loud, no matter how cold it is. That's what I say.
Looking forward to it. Already seeing everyone dumping their tickets for the half of the season.
Oh, you've got to be hardcore for that, and those hardcore fans out there that don't mind weathering the storms and maybe going to see a game where they can't even see the football field because the snow's blowing around, hey, major credit to them. But I'll watch the games on TV. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a bit of a wuss. I like cold, but I don't like that cold.
I got to experience my first Minnesota winter this January. I visited my in-laws, and I got to see the dome before it got bulldozed the week before. And
nice.
I'm just going to say, if you've got to turn your car on, and I'm going to sound like a wuss for this because I live in Virginia, but you got to turn your car on like 15 to 20 minutes in advance just to make sure it works properly and get out of the driveway. Yeah, you're right. I'll be sitting at home with popcorn in hand with a heated blanket. But hey, show your faith if you're there. I'm sure I would go too, but maybe not every home game in the last part of the season. But that's really cool. We have some dedicated fans.
Oh, if I lived down that way, there's a good chance I might be there. But since I'm a displaced fan in Michigan, making my way down there that often isn't easy.
You guys are wusses. I'd totally go to outdoor football games. Like, I love that. Even though it'd be cold as shit and you'd have to wear 19 jackets and 8 pairs of gloves. Like, it would be so much fun to experience outdoor Vikings football. And it's an opportunity that you're only going to get for the next 2 seasons. Vikings PR can send me a check in the mail whenever they would like for that endorsement.
There you go.
Touche.
So in 2005, the Minnesota Vikings were sold by Red McCombs for $600 million. Last year, according to Forbes, the team of the Minnesota Vikings is now valued at over $1 billion.
$1 billion.
So the Wilf family have seen one heck of a return on their investment already. A lot of the contributing factor to that increase in value is the new stadium, which is a big, big deal because the other one was not really state-of-the-art and needed a lot of work. The new stadium will definitely be the major factor in this evaluation. All right. So, Vikings defensive end Brian Robinson has gone on record as saying that he thinks the Vikings should consider wearing black uniforms in the future.
Yes.
No.
Just for one game. If everybody had to witness those atrocious Pittsburgh Steelers Bumblebee uniforms.
Oh my God.
Black Vikings, all black with some purple on one side, white on the other. I don't know what you're going to do. Leave the helmets the same. Just for one game to try it out, I think we would be right. But we should never stray away from the traditional purple, white, and gold. But I think for one game, it would really throw people off. It might be cool. And who knows? Maybe it'll be like your vegetables. Maybe you'll like it.
That's true. You never know.
Maybe, but doesn't Jacksonville have like an all-black alternative jersey color set? And we don't want to look like the Jaguars now, do we? I don't know. I don't see any reason for it. Our colors are purple and gold and white, and all black need not apply. Like
Oh, don't say it like
that. I'm all for tradition, and like these are our colors. We have never worn all black. There's no reason to start.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
Quick, I'm going to interrupt with a quick hit. What's the ugliest uniform in the NFL? The Cleveland Browns. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, it's those throwback Steelers. There's no doubt.
If we're including throwbacks, it's the Steelers. But the Packers have those horrible ones with the brown helmets with like the blue jerseys with the circle and the little tiny numbers in them. Those are pretty horrible looking throwback uniforms.
If I didn't understand the history of them, I probably would agree with you, but having to live up here and know the history of all that stuff, I've kind of learned to appreciate it a bit.
Sorry, I had to get off topic there. But
that's good off topic, though. Yeah.
But I'm going to go even further off topic if you guys are ready.
Let's do this.
Former Minnesota Viking Brock Lesnar made his return to the WWE this week to prepare for a storyline where he's set to take on John Cena at SummerSlam.
Did we really just quick hit the WWE, Adam?
You're damn
Awesome.
right I did. Well, anytime I can throw a former Viking, and you can bet when Roman Reigns wins a championship, I'm putting it in here too.
Awesome. Actually, I can spin this back to the Vikings. If you go to Vikings.com right now, you can click on their training camp through the years photo album, and they actually do have a photo of Brock Lesnar that I've never seen before, of him in some like Vikings t-shirt riding a bike to or from practice. So there you go.
And there's pictures of him with Matt Burke as well.
That is awesome.
There's not a ton of photos of Roman Reigns that I've been able to find, just the standard ones that they take at the beginning of the year. So if I can find some more of him in the Vikings jersey, that'd be cool. But yeah, so SummerSlam, former Viking Brock Lesnar taking on the champ John Cena. Check it out.
Awesome. I want to interrupt one more time. It doesn't have to do with the Vikings, but today there are 3 special birthdays. And you spoke of the WWE. I'll give a shout out to my family, my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. Happy birthday, Cassie and Kelly. But today, can you guess? It's my favorite WWE superstar of all time. It's his birthday. He's getting
Slater.
Old. Who's that?
Heath Slater?
Starts with his nickname started with an H. Kyle, you got a guess?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Greg Valentine?
The Heartbreak Kid, Mr.
Shawn
Shawn
Michaels,
Michaels.
there you go.
You're getting old, bro. But happy birthday too. Since we're referencing the WWE, that's it. That's all I got.
That's what I get for going with Greg Valentine.
I was gonna say this will be the first and only time you will hear Greg the Hammer Valentine referenced on the show, unless it's our Valentine's Day special or something.
That's true. Yeah. You never know.
We're way off topic. What's next here, Adam?
Right. Let's get back into the main topics because the quick hits are over now. I saved that WWE one for the end.
That was great.
Main topics. We're into talking about Ron Jaworski now.
Okay.
Ron Jaworski did a rating of all his projected starting quarterbacks.
And Ron Jaworski hates the Minnesota Vikings, apparently.
Coming in at 32nd, which is the lowest rated projected starter, is Matt Castle. Now, Matt Castle is a former Pro Bowl quarterback. He was in high demand. A lot of teams wanted to get him when he was showing what he had for the Patriots when Tom Brady went down. Castle's shown a lot of potential and a lot of ability in the past. He struggled a little bit with when he didn't have a lot of targets to work with in Kansas City and with the limited plays that he had to deal with in Minnesota. So I'm wondering if there's a valid reason why the Matt Castle bandwagon emptied out since then.
I'm going to go ahead and reference one of my favorite movies, Wedding Crashers. I look like an amateur now. I believe it was Step Brothers. I'm sorry I'm going to swear for one of the few times I ever will, but this wedding is horse shit. Ron, you're terrible. Yeah, how dare you put Matt Castle before Ryan Fitzpatrick or Chad Henne?
Geno Smith.
Oh, Jake Locker. Oh, good Lord. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm looking at the stats right now, so everyone prepare to be educated. While with the New England Patriots for 4 years, the year that Tom Brady went down, Matt Castle started all 16 games with a passer rating of 89.4, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Went to the Pro Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs with a 93 passer rating, 27-7. Those are good numbers. Last year, we had a quarterback carousel. Insert your quarter, pick one of the 3. It's terrible. You have to have time to prep. He's not in a good situation. He started 9 games. He was in 9 games. I'm pretty sure he started 5 or 6 of those. He won every game that we've won. He played in them. And he had an 81.6 passer rating. Nothing to brag about, but still had more touchdowns and interceptions, which is better than one newly fathered Christian Ponder. I'm sorry. We're going to dog on you. But, Ron, I need to know why you did this because it sounds like you have a bias. That's all I had.
I have to go back because I forgot a couple things in my quick hits, actually. I forgot to congratulate Brian Robinson on his new baby boy. And I also forgot to mention that Adrian Peterson got married.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah, I actually did see about AP.
So let's
just
get
a
those
big
quick...
week of love.
Yeah.
Let's a big week of love for the family.
So we'll get those quick hits in there, and so at least now people are aware of that those things happened. But back to Matt Castle. I think Castle, although he's not a good quarterback, I'd say he's a slightly below average starting quarterback.
Agreeable.
Mm-hmm. Now, do I feel comfortable with him as a starter? Sometimes. Depends on which way the wind's blowing, I guess. And who the opponent is, of course. But overall, I really believe that Castle's getting the short end of the stick on a lot of these evaluations by both professionals and fans. So, Matt Castle, if you listen to the show, you're getting some love from me right now.
All I got to say is you beat the NFC East division-winning Philadelphia Eagles. We almost put a 50-burger up on them. Granted, their defense wasn't as good as their offense, but the guy can play.
Matt Castle won FedEx Air Player of the Week that week.
Boom. Knowledge, all about teaching you guys today.
Matt Castle is not a brilliant starter by any stretch of the means in the league. He's one of those players that you can win with him. I don't know if you can win it all with him, if that makes sense, but you can win games over the course of a regular season. I do the examples you guys mentioned of other quarterbacks out there, guys like Geno Smith. I do think he is better than them. I think the reason why Jaws rated him lower is maybe he's looking at it as, well, these are younger quarterbacks who have maybe potentially more of an upside than Castle, who you're looking at is, I believe, 32, could be on a bit of a downturn. I am glad to have him on the team. I think it's good competition for Bridgewater and for Ponder to have the veteran presence on the team. So I don't view him as the worst. I will put him about maybe just below a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, but like right up in there is kind of where I view Matt Castle.
Nice.
Totally agree.
So I wrote an article earlier this week about the third wide receiver job, the guy that's going to man the slot for the Vikings. Now, I automatically assumed that it was going to be Jarius Wright. I've assumed that the whole time. Well, I read this article from the Star Tribune saying that it is a competition between Jarius Wright and Jerome Simpson for that job. Now, while I like Jerome Simpson, I don't really see him as a slot kind of guy. I see him as plugging in on the outsides when one of the guys gets tired or in case of an injury. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. Now, I also think that we're overlooking a lot of guys that could be huge. I know that a lot of people aren't really familiar with Eric Laura, but if Eric Laura steps it up in preseason, he could be a guy that could even steal the job away from Jarius Wright.
And North Turner has already called out Adam Thielen as a young player on the Vikings roster who has looked really good so far in what they've done. So there's a guy who spent time on your practice squad who could be coming up, and he's going to be fighting for a roster spot. Pay attention to him in preseason and training camp. So I think you got to keep that in mind with what they're doing with Jerome Simpson, trying to maybe switch his roles, reverse his roles out with the team a little bit.
And we're still not sure if Jerome Simpson's going to be facing a suspension or not.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forget.
That's exactly where I was going to go. If I had to take someone in the slot that's going to remind me of that one guy that used to wear number 12, I'm going with Jarius Wright. He doesn't have as many receptions or yards, but he does have more touchdowns. Jerome, if you guys remember 2 years ago, he was great at drawing penalties because he can stretch the field.
True.
And he's got pretty good hands. I'll give him that. But if I'm taking someone over the middle, a little speedy guy that's going to get me a first down and maybe 10, 11 yards, I'm going Jarius all the way, only because, like Adam said, Jerome has had his troubles. And with Mike Zimmer as your head coach now, hey, I'm not saying you're not going to make the team, but he's not going to put up with that. And I don't know. You want to be able to take advantage of a player the whole season, but I'm not discrediting Jerome and his abilities. So it's kind of like apples to oranges. I think Jerome belongs on the outside, but
I agree because they are two players with two pretty different skill sets, at least in my opinion. That's how I view them.
Well, Jerome Simpson did have Jenksy Cat back then, so
Molasses Mike.
No, come on. I can't believe he didn't like the nickname Jenksy Cat. Come on, Mike. Come on.
Michael Jenkins being brought up in the podcast today. Man, we're going all over the place. I love this show.
That's almost as obscure as Greg the Hammer Valentine. You know what?
Hey, Greg the Hammer was the man.
I got a sidebar for a minute. And it relates to the jersey number 84. You remember at the beginning of the season when Randy Moss turned back into Randy Moss and opened his mouth about Patterson wearing number 84 and how it was disrespectful. Why would he say that about our young rookie who's got all the potential in the world, but you have Molasses Mike Jenkins wearing the number 84, and Moss never once said a thing about it. It's like, really? Really, Randy?
Moss said he felt it was disrespectful for a rookie to wear the number, and Jinxie Cat was far from a rookie.
You have a potential superstar. Yeah. I mean, you've had
Michael Jenkins,
multiple NFL.com and NFL Network guys. Let's be real. Unless you're talking about AP, the NFL reporters, analysts, and NFL.com writers, they don't like our team. It's fine. You have a potential superstar said by many of those reporters and analysts, and I don't know. I feel like you would want to root for him. Like, you're out of the league, man. You're back in Carolina coaching your kids' team. I mean, as much as Favre, let me bring him up. You could tie those two together. As much as Favre loves the spotlight, he's not going to come back and discredit anybody. Like, let it roll on, man. That was unnecessary.
You're right. I love Randy. He's one of my favorite players on the team. But to use Brett Favre as an example, it's like you didn't hear him after he left be like, it's disrespectful for McLeod Bethel Thompson to be wearing number 4 in Minnesota. Like, that just don't happen.
I was watching NFL Live, and down on the bottom of the screen, they were talking about how Cordero Patterson could have a breakout year this year. And you know how on that show they have the purple bar with the gold writing, and it'll say the player's name, and it'll have their little picture on the front of it, right? Well, the little picture on the front of it wasn't Cordero Patterson. The picture they used with the Cordero Patterson story was Adrian Peterson.
Huh. I remember my first day on the job. Come on, guys.
It's like, you're close, right team, wrong dude. But nice effort.
Somebody TiVo that and tell us about it. Send us a picture.
So, the last thing that we were going to talk about this week, or at least Mr. Kyle West wanted to talk about, I want no part of it, was he wanted to talk about the 3-game suspension that was handed down to the special teams coach. So have the floor, Mr.
Well,
West.
I feel like this is a topic that we have to cover. Because
when you say we, you mean like the general we, not like actual me, right?
No, we includes you in this one too.
Oh crap!
We have to talk about it because, guys, it's a big deal that we're losing our special teams coordinator for 3 or potentially 2, depending on how it works out, games for this season. Because I don't care one bit what he said, what he didn't say, all that. Let's throw that aside for a minute and look at Mike Prefer as a coordinator, as a coach for the Minnesota Vikings. You go back to last season, time and time again, I can remember saying on this podcast that Mike Prefer was the only coach who knew what he was doing. He was the only guy who had his unit actually running and performing at a high level week in and week out for the Vikings. He is a good coach.
Agreed.
He is a good special teams coach. There's a reason why Mike Zimmer wanted to keep him, because Zimmer knows good coaches. Prefer is a good coach. I think we're lucky to have him, and I've even said this before, is that after his time with the Vikings is done, he's going to continue to work his way up the coaching ladder, and I think he is a potential future head coach candidate for some other team. And the stuff with Kluwe, not going to hurt that. I don't think that'll hurt his chances in the long run. So, yeah, it's a big deal not to have him. Special teams are a big part of the Vikings game, because look at guys like Cordero Patterson and what he can do. That's more than just Patterson out there on special teams. That's blocking coverages down the field. That's being coached up, and they're going to have now they've got to have someone fill in while he's gone, get used to that, and then he comes back, and you hope it's a smooth transition for the team.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The return game, and Mr. Punt returner, kick returner, the punt returner is still part of special teams, correct?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep.
Marcus Sherrill's number 2 in the league last year. He's a beast as a punt returner as well. I agree with you 100,000%, Kyle. I'm just ready. I will do my homework when all the evidence is there, but right now I'm on Adam's boat. It's not because I don't feel like it's important. I want to have all the evidence on the table, because right now I'm hearing a lot of he said, she said stuff. This could get nasty, though. Kluwe, just from what I've seen over the years of him being on the team and his attitude, he doesn't like to listen to authority. And right now we have dirt on both Mike Prefer and Chris Kluwe. So it's hard to say how this is going to pan out, but I agree with you totally. This is going to affect the team, and I hope it's not in a bad way. And I think we have the talent to do just as good as we did last year, but some of those guys might need the guidance. You know, your talent can get you so far, and coaching will get you the other way. But I agree, man. It'll have an effect on us. But when we get into the meat and potatoes of what finally happens, I think it'll be we can cover it more on that side. But I agree totally.
This is an embarrassing situation that really nobody's going to come out looking good. Prefer's not going to look good. Kluwe's not going to look good. The Vikings organization isn't going to look good. The Vikings teammates of the punter at the time are not going to look good. It's just really an ugly situation for everything going on. And although I like to ignore it and put it on the back burner, the impact that it's going to have on this season is that the team will be without their special teams coordinator for at least 2 games. Now, I don't know anything about who the assistant is for the special teams or anything like that, or their capability, but I'm assuming that Prefer will have that person ready to step up and take the reins, and hopefully there's not a big drop-off in coaching.
Well, the team has a pretty good ace up their sleeve because they do employ Norv Turner. And Norv Turner is kind of an ace of all trades. I believe that, hey, if it's a 2-game suspension, they want to have him do offense and coach special teams. I'm sure he's been around the league for a long enough time. He'll be more than capable to take care of that or work directly with whatever assistant they were to assign to it. They will get it covered.
Right, but will it be to the level that
we're used to seeing
the coordinator can have it at, you know? It's like, would you rather learn from a guy that's got his PhD or from a guy that's got his associates? It's just that kind of situation. Prefer's been around long enough that he knows what he's doing. He knows his job well. Unfortunately, his mouth got him in trouble, which I've had that happen to me at some of my jobs, because I don't know when to close this pie hole sometimes. It just happens. So, overall, I don't think that this is going to have a massive impact on the football field, but already it's making the Vikings organization look bad and giving fans of other teams and people that hate the Vikings more ammunition just to throw at people, and it's making it harder to be a Vikings fan in some way.
Here's my question for you guys. How big of a story do you think this is league-wide? Like, outside of the Minnesota Vikings fan base. Obviously, we're all talking about it because it is a notorious and well-known former Vikings player and a guy who is currently on our staff. So, of course, we all know about it. But I really wonder how much to your average, your sports fans for other teams, they're even aware of what's going on with our team right now.
That's a great question.
What do you guys think?
I think it's minor. We don't really grab the spotlight. Yeah. The most we've been talked about in the last 2 years is hiring Mike Zimmer and when AP got MVP and stuff like that. I think right now it's not going to be a big deal at all. It's just going to be a little side story like our quick hits. Maybe when he gets a suspension, which now that I'm thinking about it, it really sucks because if he's out the first 2 games, we talked about this in a group message earlier this week. Our first 4 games are no bitch, excuse my French.
They're pretty brutal.
We got a pretty hard first stretch, and me personally, it's not that I don't have faith in the team. Right now, we don't even know who's going to start for us at quarterback, and we got new defensive, offensive coordinators and a head coach. Like, ugh. But that could be a key reason as to why. Because think about it, you got special teams. That is your field position, and if you're averaging, better, if you do, obviously you're going to do better if you have a shorter field. A lot of things come into that, so it'll be interesting. But I don't think, as an NFL whole, we've just never been a part of the spotlight like that, and this isn't like a rape or a murder case like we have on other teams, so I don't think it'll be that big a deal. It'll be minuscule level at biggest, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
If Prefer's out, that means that the Vikings will have, from last season, for at least the first 2 games, all new coordinators, a new head coach, new schemes. It's just going to be crazy.
Yeah, we're coming into.
It's going to be a whirlwind.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a good whirlwind, too. I said this on a previous podcast when Kyle was out. Be patient this year. New stadium, new coaches. We're changing over at quarterback again at some point. Be patient. It's not going to always be the rebuilding phase. We're in the right direction.
And that's all I got to say about that situation. How about you guys? Do you have anything else you want to add?
I have one more quick hit, and I wanted to let this in as a little juicy piece of gossip. I'm going to post a question after we get off here because I could talk about this for another 5 minutes to go in depth. But Roger Goodell says that the London team stuff could be done in 5 years. I don't like the idea, just for the simple fact you take it last year. Whenever you're playing that game in London, you have to have the next week off. Are you going to give every team that's away a week off after that? Are you going to do the first 6 games at home for the London team so they don't have to fly across the world, 8 games? You're going to do the first 8 games at home for the London team and then the last 8 away because you don't want these guys flying halfway across the world every other week. That's going to be expensive. That's going to take a toll on their bodies. You can't give them a bye week every time. But I want all the fans that listen to this show, I'm going to post a little feed about that. I am not for the NFL expanding. Keep it in the house. If you want to expand, move a crappy team like Oakland to LA or something like that, or Jacksonville to LA. Who knows? But my last thing, and it's on NFL.com. You can look it up right now. It says, which new team will get in the playoffs? And by new, people that are changing the helmet, offensive coordinator or head coach, blah, 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 blah. It was the likes of the Giants, the Jets, the Vikings, etc. There were 6 teams, but whoever it was picked the Jets, which is, it's fair. You got Rex Ryan. He's a good coach, defensive mind.
I don't get it, I guess.
I mean, you got Eric Decker, you got Chris Johnson, you got some better pieces, but like you said, quarterback will make him break it. I don't see the big deal about Geno Smith. However, Teddy Bridgewater was brought up in this video, and I heard this with my own 2 ears, and you can hear it for yourself. Just type in Teddy Bridgewater, NFL.com, go to the videos tab. It's the first one. Which new team will get in the playoffs? The guy that was giving out his opinion on Teddy didn't have bad things to say. He said, I saw a lot of positive things. Norv Turner's raving about him, as you guys have probably read. But a Vikings veteran right now, I don't know if it's a guy that was on the team or is now, says he thinks Teddy should sit out not only this season but the next and start when, ta-da, the new stadium comes in. I think whoever you are, Vikings veteran, what the hell are you thinking? No. And I promise you, I'm making a guarantee right now. Teddy Bridgewater will start in the 2014 season. I don't know when, but he is going to see time on the field as the starter for whatever week number it is. I couldn't believe they said 2 whole seasons.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
time out. We're going to go a little long because I got to talk about this one. Do we know if it was a current veteran currently employed?
It wasn't said.
Because to me, that kind of sounds like the attitude that, I'm going to take a beating for this one. But that's something that Jared Allen would say. Like that.
I was going to say that sounds like a McNabb statement to me.
To me, that strikes me more of kind of that old cliquey Vikings veteran guys that we used to have, like Jared Allen, Kevin Williams, like Brett Favre, Pat Williams, like those from that era Vikings were very kind of, I don't know, that just kind of what that strikes me as. That's stupid. Like, why would you waste,
I don't know,
2 of Adrian
He's
Peterson's?
been called the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
And I agree firmly. He was the steal of the draft. He was projected number 1 overall if it weren't for a crappy pro day. I mean, and if any of you guys watched, I'm pretty sure Adam put it up. If it wasn't Adam, it was on the Viking Age. But look at all of his camp throws. I know it's just OTA throws, whatever. The kid is leaps and bounds. I'm sorry, Christian. I really do like you, man. But he's better than Christian Ponder off the start as a rookie. He's giving Matt Castle a run, and the guy's been to the Pro Bowl and led the New England Patriots before. You can't sit there and tell me he needs to sit. I mean, one of the best things that Teddy had going for him, and a lot of people said in the pre-draft process, was he has got football IQ to the moon and back. It's not going to be that hard to learn an offense, especially if you have a guy who's so successful with it like Norv. I disagree with that completely. 1 season at the most, but that's not even going to happen. I live in reality. He's starting this season at some point.
Christian Ponder was also praised for his intelligence coming out of school. But let's talk about Christian Ponder, and then let's sign out a little bit, because Christian Ponder will be our major topic next week. We're going to be talking about whether or not he actually got a fair shake with the Vikings in the 3 seasons that he's been with the team so far. So that'll be a really interesting conversation to have because there's a lot of factors that have gone into him trying to find his role with the team. So we'll post that question up on the Facebook page, and hopefully it'll go on over to Twitter so Kyle can get some responses from that. And we'll read some of your responses and let us know what we think, or let you guys know what we think too. So it should be a fun conversation about Mr. Ponder leading into the first week at training camp, which is also going to be a heavy conversation next week.
It's finally here, guys. August is next month. The wait is over. The worst part of the year is coming to an end. So get your Christian Ponder thoughts, comments, and opinions ready. I'm going to talk about the London and the Ponder stuff to get you guys through the weekend up to next week. Thank you, guys. What a good episode this was.
Yep, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Check us out on Facebook, at Purple People Pod on Twitter. Check out my work on the Viking Age. Check out Kyle Smith's butt, because I'm sure it's very nice. Check out Kyle West's face, because he's a beautiful man. And don't forget to stay classy, Minnesota.